in this house. In this house. In this house. In this house. In this house.
Okay, guys, there was a little trailer to give you a little hint of what the heck I'm going to be talking about. Okay. So as you can see by the trailer, Dana must have watched Skinamarink. I did. I watched all 1 hour and 40 minutes of it. I was able to have Steve get me a copy of it because here's a little bit of a backstory behind that. And I promise this will be quick and then I'll get to my thoughts. Steve, I'm sorry, I've got some drink mix on my thumb there. It's not blood. Steve had downloaded this supposedly a while back, a few weeks ago or something. And he said it didn't look like, he kind of like scanned through it on fast forward. And he said it didn't appear that there was anything on it. And at first I was like, well, does he mean that it didn't look like there was a film on it? Or did he mean that it looked like nothing happened? So I wasn't sure about that. But for whatever reason, he said he deleted it. Okay. So I've been hearing lots of grumblings mainly about this movie. There have been a few people that have said it's the greatest thing since sliced bread and different things. But most people are saying it's a piece of shit. That's what I was hearing. That nothing happens. It's stupid. It's a piece of shit. It's too long. Different things. I believe it did play in the theaters. At least it was playing in the theaters around here. But I watched the trailer on a whim, the same trailer I just showed you before I came on here. And I was intrigued by it. And even though a lot of people were saying, don't watch it, Dana, or it's painful, or it's a piece of shit, or whatever, I was intrigued enough by the trailer to actually sit down and watch it today. So Steve got it for me pretty quickly today. So I thought, what the hey? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch this thing. And I did. And this is going to shock you guys. This is going to shock many of the regulars that come to, and I just put my foot in my trash can here. Sorry about that, guys. But this is really, my thoughts are going to shock a lot of the people that come to my live streams. There's no doubt about that. And they're probably going to think, Dana, you're crazy. You flipped your lid. You've seen one too many horror movies. And perhaps I have. And they're going to think that something has destroyed my brain. Yeah. because, guys, honestly, I liked it. I liked it. It has flaws, but what movie does not have flaws? Even the most almost perfect movies have flaws to them. Okay. So it does have flaws. And I will admit, a lot of people that were saying that it was too long, I agree with them. It could have been tightened up a whole lot. And I think if it had been tightened up a lot to maybe just over an hour or something, then it might have been better well received. Okay. Uh Also, I would not recommend seeing this in a theater atmosphere. I don't feel like this is the type of movie to watch in a theater. I think this is better watched at home, preferably with you by yourself, with as little distractions as it that you can have. Now, it did take me a little bit longer to watch it, and here's why. Because I have 5 dogs living in the house with me. And even though I'm on vacation this week and I'm trying to make the most of it by being able to relax and decompress and watch some movies and like I said, watch things like Skinamarink that I haven't seen yet, and maybe be able to make a little sense of them, as opposed to trying to watch them when there's a dozen things going on, or Steve's in the house and Steve's wanting his meal, and it's hard to concentrate on a movie when, especially a movie you haven't seen, when there's someone else in the house with you. Okay, so I would say, yeah, if the director could have tightened it up, I think it would have been better well received. I don't think this movie needed to be any more than maybe just over an hour. Okay. And I think also it's better watched on a small screen, uh, with as few distractions as you can possibly be able to provide for yourself. Okay. Have it as quiet as can be, um, have things as settled as can be, and just concentrate on what you're watching. Okay. And I will admit it is an hour and 40 minutes long. Okay. And maybe a few seconds. So be prepared for that. Okay. But this movie did make me jump in spots. I would have to disagree with people that say nothing happens in this movie, because although subtle, things do happen in the movie. Okay. And although I'm not entirely sure what happened to the people within the movie, what happened to the father, what happened to the mother, what happened eventually to the 2 children who wake up to find their father gone. They don't ever talk about the mother much. There is a segment in the film where there's a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 segments in the film where the back of the mother is shown when the children is talking to her. Um, and there's a scene where one of the kids says, "Why is mom crying?" But you don't see the mother at that point in time. And then they want to know where their dad is. And then one of the children says, "Well, maybe dad went to be with mom." And the other child says, "I don't want to talk about mom." And keep in mind, these are young children, maybe all of 4 or 5 years old. Okay. And I think some people were a little bit turned off that the majority of this film, well, might as well say all of this film, is from the perspective or the point of view of these 2 children. Okay, keep in mind, 4 and 5-year-olds, our minds aren't nearly as developed as they are as an adult. So you kind of, when you watch this movie, you kind of have to put yourself in the mindset of a child. Think back to when you were young, okay? As young as you can remember, okay? And this movie plays on a lot of those childhood fears: fear of the dark, fear of things under your bed, fear of the unknown, fear of loved ones disappearing from your life. Okay. Now, I must admit that the scene with the toilet disappearing was a little bit hokey, and people have made tons of jokes about the toilet disappearing. Um, but I like to think, as hokey as that was, that there was some kind of reasoning behind this. Um, and here's one theory I have. And if you haven't seen the movie and you want to watch it with, I don't think this is really a spoiler, but I want to give you a word of warning that I'm going to give my theories about what may have happened to this family. Okay. And I don't want that to, if you haven't seen the movie already, I don't want that to alter your perception to the movie. I want you to watch the movie and make your own determinations. Don't just go by my theories, okay? Because my theories could be totally off base of what the director really meant. My theory, or one of my theories, is that the mother and father killed themselves and may have perhaps killed their children, and the children are dead and they're stuck in this house, and that is why doors and windows are disappearing, the toilet's disappearing. I don't know. The toilet disappearing, I guess you would have to ask the director why he put that in there. That was a little hokey. That I did laugh a little bit at that. But the doors and windows disappearing almost led me to believe that the children were dead, and that was their perception of why they couldn't leave this house. Okay. My other thought was maybe the mother got sick and died. Maybe she got cancer and she died. Maybe that's why the kids don't, or one of the children does not want to talk about her. And then after that, maybe the father killed himself, and maybe he killed the children. You know, I mean, things like that have happened in real life. People have killed their family and then killed themselves. You know, they've taken, the family with them. Okay. Here's another theory: that some body broke into this house and killed the whole family, or just killed the father and the two kids. And I'm sorry if I said that kind of out of order before. The father would have had to kill the children before he killed himself. So if I said that out of order, I did not mean to. Okay. So the other thing is the children keep hearing someone else in the house that talks to them, that tells them to go to sleep, that is the being that's making stuff disappear in the house. Um, this is the being that at one point you flash on the little girl's face and she doesn't have a mouth. And the being tells the little boy, Kevin, that Kaylee asked too many questions, that Kaylee wanted her mother and father. And so the being took Kaylee's mouth away. Okay. So I don't know if this is some kind of alien being or it's all in the people's minds. I mean, perhaps this is trying to say something about mental illness or schizophrenia where you hear voices. We may never know. And those theories may be totally, completely opposite of what the director intended. Okay. But I like the way it was shot. It was gritty. It was actually hard to see things in certain spots, but I enjoyed that because what it did was it forced me to pay even more attention to this film because I had to. Okay. And let's see. There, like I said, there were some jump scares thrown in there. It might be quiet, 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 and then bam, something loud would happen. And sometimes the children would hear these noises and say, "What was that?" Um, and evidently this goes on. The things in this house go on for over 2 years, because at one point we get to 572 days flashes up on the screen. Okay. Um, so at one point, the voice tells one of the children to stab themselves in the eye with a knife. Why? I'm not really sure. It could be like a mass mental illness, a mass, some kind of hysteria that took over. It could be some alien being that took over their minds and made them do things. Um, and and these kind of things are acceptable in the majority of movies, because especially those of us that watch a lot of sci-fi, that watch a lot of horror movies, we've kind of been pre-programmed to understand that things are not always going to make complete logical sense in films. Which is why I'm a little befuddled why so many people that like horror movies hate this movie. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm not saying they're not intelligent enough to get it. It's not about any of that. I'm just a little befuddled by some things. And like I said, people are going to be really, really shocked at my uh, how I felt about this movie in general. Okay. Something else, I was reading some reviews, not until I watched the movie, but I was reading some reviews on IMDb, and somebody mentioned David Lynch in the mix. And I could definitely see a David Lynch. I don't know if it's an influence per se, but I could definitely see some of the things that were similar to what David Lynch was doing, primarily in his short films. And I have seen a video of short films that David Lynch did, and they were bizarre and they were weird. But a lot of people like David Lynch, and a lot of people don't get David Lynch. And I'm sure there's a percentage that dislike David Lynch's stuff altogether. My dad was someone who first started watching the pilot of Twin Peaks and really was intrigued by the death of Laura Palmer and all that stuff. And then when it got to the more unusual parts of that series, Dad tuned out. So, and I continued to watch it, the things like the log lady and the backwards talking and all of that stuff. My dad was like, I don't get it. And he tuned out. But I was intrigued enough to stick with that series, despite all of those little oddities. So I can definitely see someone kind of comparing it to David Lynch's stuff. Which I did watch. Sorry, Uncle Bill, I did not watch all of the X-Files retrospective that you did with Rambo and Stuntman Mark. But I will bring up the fact that I did see the beginning of it where you guys were discussing Skinamarink. And I don't think Uncle Bill had seen it at that point. But both Rambo and Stuntman Mark had, and neither one of them liked it. Movie Junkie John has told me that it's a piece of shit. X-Ray has told me it's a piece of shit. People have laughed at it. But I just want to tell everybody, if you can tolerate sitting through it again, because I've been told that about movies I absolutely hated. Oh, hey, Dana, give it another try. If you can sit through an hour and 40 minutes of it again, if you can have as few distractions going on around you as possible, and that means no kids running around, preferably no animals running around, preferably no spouse asking you a bunch of questions while you're watching it. If you can just put yourself in a room by yourself, turn the lights down low or watch it at night. I was watching it through the day and had the lights turned down a little bit. And definitely don't go to see it at the theater, okay? I'm begging you. If you want to see it, don't go see it in a theater atmosphere. Watch it by yourself at home on the small screen with the lights turned down and just immerse yourself in the movie. That's the best environment I can suggest for this movie. Okay. And I went on for about 20 minutes plus the trailer. And I'm going to put this out on YouTube here in a little bit. But I hope people check out my thoughts on this and can make some sense out of what I'm saying, because I think this movie has a chance to become something. Someone did mention that they hoped when it finally makes its debut on Shudder, that Shudder does a little editing to it. And perhaps they will. Perhaps they will work with the director and maybe they will tighten some things up. And we shall see. But I, for one, enjoyed it. I see myself waiting a little bit and watching it again to see if maybe there was some things I missed in it. But I encourage everybody to at least take a look at it. I mean, don't go out and pay money for it. Okay. That's another reason why I say don't go to the theater. Don't plunk down your hard-earned money. But if you can find a for free version, by all means, give Skinamarink a chance. And that's me signing off. I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for now. And I will see all of you guys on the flip side. Have a great day, guys.